Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into the dusty, clinking world of medieval soldiers trudging through muddy trails with secrets tucked closer than their own shadows. Picture yourself in a column of weary men armor creaking the air thick with the scent of sweat and horse. Every step kicks up dirt that sticks to your boots, and somewhere beneath your cloak a single gold coin presses against your ribs. A tiny fortune you're desperate to keep safe. These soldiers, they weren't just fighting for glory. They were playing a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek with their own wealth. One wrong move and poof, your life savings are gone to a thief or a battlefield scavenger. You probably won't survive this march without a few tricks up your sleeve, so let's unravel how these guys kept their treasures hidden. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I love picturing where you're all drifting off from. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're marching now, the sun beating down your leather boots, scuffing against pebbles. The army stretches ahead, a snake of men winding through a valley, banners flapping lazily in the breeze. Every soldier's got something to lose, maybe a few silver pennies, a ring from a sweetheart, or if they're lucky, a gold piece that could buy a plot of land someday. But here's the kicker, you're surrounded by comrades who might slit your throat for a single coin. Trust is scarcer than clean water. So how do you keep your valuables safe when you're sleeping in tents, dodging arrows and praying you don't trip into a ditch? The answer's in the details, and these soldiers were crafty. They had to be. One mainstream fact stands out: most soldiers carried their wealth on their bodies, not in clinking purses. Purses were too obvious, too easy to snatch in the chaos of a camp or battle. Now let's get a little weird. There's this quirky tidbit from old chronicles. Some soldiers believed that carrying a charm like a rabbit's foot or a saint's relic could bless their hidden stash and keep it safe from thieves. Sounds like wishful thinking, but when you're marching through a forest with bandits lurking, you'll try anything. Historians still argue whether these charms were common or just superstitious nonsense. Did every soldier have a lucky token? Or was it only the paranoid ones? Whatever the case, you can feel the weight of that coin against your chest, can't you? It's not just money, it's your future, your safety. Maybe a warm meal in a tavern someday. You've got to hide it well. Let's start with the simplest trick: sewing valuables into your clothes. You're no tailor, but you've got a needle, some thread, and a desperate need to keep that coin out of sight. You sit by the campfire, the air sharp with wood smoke, and you stitch that gold piece into the hem of your cloak. The fabric's rough, scratching your fingers as you work, and the coin's cold, heavy edge presses through the cloth. You're careful, too many stitches, and it's obvious. Too few, and it'll slip out. You glance around, making sure no one's watching. The guy next to you is snoring, his beard flecked with stew, and you smirk. Hope he's not dreaming of my gold, you mutter. It's a small joke, but it keeps you sane. This sewing trick was everywhere in medieval armies. From English archers to French knights, soldiers turned their clothes into secret vaults. You might hide a coin in your tunic's collar, where the fabric folds thick, or in the padded lining of your gambeson, that quilted jacket under your armor. The gambeson's a lifesaver, not just for cushioning sword blows, but for hiding your stash. You feel the coin shift as you march, a little bump against your shoulder. It's annoying, but it's safe. Or so you hope. What if your cloak tears? What if someone notices the bulge? You push the thought away, focusing on the rhythm of your steps, the crunch of gravel underfoot. But here's a modern aside: imagine trying this today. You're on a road trip, hiding cash in your jacket, praying it doesn't fall out at a gas station. Sounds stressful, right? Medieval soldiers lived that stress every day, except instead of a flat tire, they faced dysentery or a surprise ambush. No pressure. Another light joke: you wonder if they ever forgot where they sewed their coins, like losing your keys in a couch cushion. Oi, where's my silver? You can hear some poor sod muttering, patting his cloak like a confused grandma. The image makes you chuckle, but it fades as you realize how real the fear was. Losing that coin could mean starvation after the campaign. The sensory details pull you deeper. The cloak smells of damp wool and campfire, smoke its weight dragging your shoulders. The air's chilly, a faint mist curling around the trees, and your breath puffs out in clouds. You adjust your belt, feeling the coarse leather bite into your hips. Every step is a reminder: keep your secrets close, your eyes sharp. You're not just a soldier, you're a walking safe, and the combination is your wits. As the march continues, you start to notice other tricks, pouches, boots, even weapons turned into hiding spots. But for now, you're focused on that coin stitched tight, your little piece of hope in a world that doesn't care if you make it home. You're still trudging along with this ragtag medieval army, the dust from 100 boots swirling around you, coating your throat with a gritty tang. That gold coin you sewed into your cloak last night, it's still there, pressing against your ribs like a tiny, stubborn promise. You can feel its shape every time you shift your shoulders, a reminder of why you're putting up with the blisters and the sergeant's shouting. Last night by the campfire, you learned the art of stitching valuables into your clothes. And now you're wondering just how many soldiers around you are carrying their own secrets. The guy ahead with the patched tunic, is he hiding a silver penny? What about the knight on horseback? His armor gleaming, got a ruby tucked somewhere. You're all in this game together, but nobody's sharing their playbook. Let's dive deeper into this sewing trick. Because it's not just about slapping a coin into your hem and calling it a day. There's a craft to it, a kind of soldier's artistry born from paranoia and necessity. You're sitting on a log now, the campfire's heat licking your face, the air thick with the scent of burning pine and sweaty wool. Your fingers calloused from gripping a spear fumble with a needle. Honestly, you're better at stabbing than stitching. The threads coarse, catching on your skin, and the cloak's fabric feels like it's been through a dozen campaigns. You choose a spot, the inner lining, where the cloth folds thick, near your chest. It's close to your heart, literally and figuratively. You push the coin in its cold metal edge, biting your thumb, and start sewing, each stitch a prayer that no one notices. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Sewing valuables into clothing was a widespread practice across medieval Europe, from the muddy fields of Agincourt to the sun-baked trails of the Crusades. Soldiers, merchants, even pilgrims did it. Why? Because banks weren't a thing for the average grunt. And carrying a purse was like waving a rob me sign. You smirk, imagining a modern equivalent, tucking your credit card into your socks before a sketchy bus ride. Not a bad move, but these soldiers were next level. They'd stitch coins into collars, cuffs, even the padded layers of their gambesons, those quilted jackets that softened the blow of a mace. The gambeson's your favorite. It's bulky enough to hide a small fortune without raising eyebrows. Now for the quirky tidbit, some soldiers got weirdly superstitious about their stitching. A few old records mention guys using red thread, red of all colors, because they thought it warded off thieves. Maybe it was a nod to some saint, or just a look at me, I'm fancy flex. You picture yourself trying it, looping bright red thread through your cloak, then realizing it's like painting a target on your chest. Nice going, genius, you mutter, chuckling at your imaginary blunder. Historians still argue whether this red thread habit was widespread, or just a quirky fad among a few paranoid types. Did every camp have a guy with a red stitched tunic, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open, but you like the idea of a soldier betting his life savings on a bit of colorful string. The sensory details pull you in. Your cloak's heavy, damp from last night's drizzle, and it smells like a mix of wet dog and smoke. The coin's weight tugs at the fabric, making you hyper-aware of every step. You march the ground, uneven pebbles crunching under your boots. The air's sharp, carrying the faint metallic tang of armor and the sour whiff of unwashed bodies. You adjust your belt, its leather creaking, and catch a glimpse of another soldier patting his tunic like he's checking his own stash. You exchange a glance, a silent, "I know what you're doing" moment, and both look away. Trust is a luxury you can't afford. Let's throw in a modern aside. Ever hidden cash in your luggage before a trip, then spent the whole flight worrying it's gone? That's the vibe here, except instead of a lost suitcase, it's a bandit with a knife or a maid who borrows your cloak. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier waking up to find his tunic's hem ripped open, muttering, "Well, there goes my retirement." It's a grim joke, but it fits the mood. These guys lived on edge, their valuables sewn tight but never truly safe. What if the thread snaps? What if someone spots the bulge? You push the thought down, focusing on the rhythm of the march, the dull thud of boots on dirt. You're starting to notice other tricks too. Some soldiers don't trust cloaks, they're tucking stuff into belts or boots. You glance at your own boots, worn and caked with mud, and wonder if you could squeeze a coin in there. Sounds painful, but pain's better than poverty. For now, though, your coin's safe in its stitched hideout, a little lump of hope. The army moves on the horizon, blurring in the heat, and you keep marching, one hand brushing your cloak just to be sure. That coin's your lifeline, and you're not letting it go without a fight. You're still trudging through this medieval march, the air heavy with dust and the faint, sour tang of sweat-soaked leather. That gold coin sewn into your cloak is your constant companion, a cold, hard nudge against your ribs with every step. You've got the hang of this sewing trick now, but you're starting to notice the details, the way other soldiers move, the subtle pats they give their tunics like they're all guarding their own secrets. The guy next to you with a beard like a bird's nest keeps tugging at his collar. Got something hidden there, mate, you think, smirking. You're all in this sneaky game, but today you're diving deeper into the tunic itself, how it's not just a shirt but a soldier's best shot at keeping his wealth safe. Picture yourself at camp, the fires glow, painting shadows on the trees, the air sharp with wood smoke and the musky scent of damp wool. You're hunched over your tunic, a rough-spun thing that's seen better days. It's stiff with dirt scratching your fingers as you run them over the seams. The tunic's your second skin, worn under armor or alone when the march gets too hot. It's also your secret vault. You've already sewn a coin into your cloak, but the tunic's different, closer, harder to steal. You pick a spot, the inner fold near the armpit, where the fabric's doubled up and sweaty. Gross, sure. But thieves don't go sniffing armpits. And that's the point. You thread your needle, the prick of it stinging your thumb, and start stitching the coin's edge cool against your skin. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Tunics were the go-to for hiding valuables because they were universal. Every soldier, from a peasant levy to a knight squire, wore one. In the 1300s, tunics were long, loose, and layered, perfect for concealing a coin or two without drawing eyes. You could slip a silver penny into the hem where it blended with the folds, or stitch a small jewel into the shoulder padding. The tunic's versatility made it a soldier's Swiss Army knife, clothing, armor padding, and safe all in one. You imagine trying this now, hiding your phone charger in a hoodie's seam. Not quite the same, but you get the vibe. Now for the quirky tidbit, some soldiers got creative with their tunics, stitching tiny religious charms alongside their coins like a scrap of cloth blessed by a priest. They believed it'd protect their wealth from cursed thieves. You chuckle, picturing yourself sewing a lucky penny into your shirt, muttering, "Stay safe, little buddy." It's a bit nutty, but when you're marching through bandit country, a charm feels like insurance. Historians still argue whether these blessed tunics were common or just a fad among the devout. Were soldiers genuinely pious or just hedging their bets? The debate's alive, but you like the image of a grizzled mercenary praying over his armpit stash. The sensory details hit hard. Your tunic's damp, clinging to your back like a needy hug, its smell a mix of sweat, dirt, and that faint, musty whiff of old wool. The campfire's heat dries your face, but your fingers are clammy, fumbling with the thread. Each stitch pulls the fabric tight, the coin a hard lump under your touch. You pause, listening to the camp, the crackle of fire, the low murmur of voices, someone coughing like they've got a lung to spare. You glance up, catching a soldier across the fire, smoothing his own tunic. We're all playing this game, you think. A wry smile tugging your lips. A modern aside, ever stuffed cash in your jeans pocket, then panicked when you couldn't feel it. That's the soldier's life, except their jeans are a smelly tunic. And losing that coin means no food for a month. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier shaking out his tunic like a kid searching for lost change, muttering, "Come on, where's my gold?" It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The fear's real, your tunic could tear, or some light-fingered campmate could slit the seam while you sleep. You check your stitches, the thread biting into your skin, and hope it holds. You're back on the march now, the tunic's weight familiar, the coin, a secret only you know. The road's rough stones jabbing your soles, and the air's thick with dust that coats your tongue. You adjust your belt, feeling the tunic shift, the coin safe in its sweaty hideout. Other tricks are out there, pouches, boots, even swords. But the tunic's your favorite. It's simple. Close yours. You catch another soldier's eye, his hand brushing his collar. You nod, a silent pact. Keep your secrets and I'll keep mine. The army moves on, banners flapping, and you march, one hand grazing your tunic just to be sure. You're still slogging through this medieval march. The sun baking your shoulders, the air thick with the chalky scent of dust, and the faint, greasy whiff of oiled armor. That gold coin in your tunic's armpit stitch is your little secret, a hard lump you feel every time you swing your arms. You're getting used to the game now, spotting the tell soldiers patting their clothes, adjusting belts with a bit too much care. But you're not done with hiding tricks yet. Today you're slipping into something new. A leather pouch tucked tight under your armor, close as a lover's whisper. It's not just a bag, it's your next line of defense against the sticky fingers of camp thieves and battlefield scavengers. Imagine you're at camp, the evening sky bruised purple, the air cooling fast, and carrying the sharp tang of pine and smoldering coals. You're crouched by your bedroll, the ground damp under your knees, the grass tickling your shins. Your armor's off, stacked nearby, its iron plates glinting in the firelight. You're holding a small leather pouch no bigger than your palm, its surface worn smooth from years of use. It smells faintly of tanned hide and sweat, and the drawstrings frayed rough against your fingers. You slip a silver penny inside your backup stash just in case that tunic coin doesn't make it. The penny clinks softly, a sound that makes you wince. Too loud. You glance around, but the camp's busy men laughing, sharpening blades, one guy belching loud enough to wake the dead. You smirk. Keep it down, mate, you mutter, your first joke of the night. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Belt pouches were a soldier's go-to for hiding small valuables, especially in the chaos of a campaign. Unlike purses which dangled like bait, these pouches were tied under clothing or armor close to the body. In the 1200s and 1300s, soldiers across Europe, English, French, even mercenaries in Italy, used them to stash coins, rings, or tiny keepsakes. You'd loop the pouch's cord through your belt, then tuck it inside your tunic or under your breastplate. It was discreet, secure, and less likely to get sliced off in a brawl. You picture trying this today, maybe taping your wallet to your stomach before a crowded festival. Uncomfortable, sure, but better than losing it. Now, for the quirky tidbit, some soldiers got weirdly attached to their pouches, treating them like lucky charms. A few surviving letters mention guys naming their pouches things like Old Bess or Saint's Pocket and swearing they'd never been robbed because of it. You chuckle, imagining yourself patting your pouch and whispering, "Good job, Bess." Sounds like something your quirky uncle would do with his favorite fishing hat. Historians still argue whether this pouch naming was widespread or just a handful of oddballs blowing off steam. Were soldiers really that sentimental, or were they just bored? The debate's open, but you like the idea of a grizzled veteran cooing over his leather stash. The sensory details pull you deeper. The pouch's leather is warm from your body, heat, its texture soft but pebbled, like a well-worn glove. You tie it to your belt, the cord biting into your waist, and slide it under your tunic, where it presses against your hip. It's a strange comfort, like a pebble in your pocket, but heavier, more urgent. The camp's alive around you, the fire crackles, spitting sparks. A horse snorts in the distance. The air smells of burnt stew and damp earth. You stand, feeling the pouch shift, a secret weight no one else knows. You catch a soldier nearby, adjusting his own belt, his eyes darting. You nod, a silent, "I get it," and move on. A modern aside, ever shoved your phone in your waistband because your pockets were full? That's the vibe here, except it's a coin that could buy you a month's food and the waistband's a creaky leather belt. You laugh softly, picturing a soldier fishing out his pouch mid-march, muttering, "Where's my bloody silver?" Like you searching for your keys in a gym bag. It's a small joke, but it grounds you. The fear's real, your pouch could slip or some campmate could spot it while you're washing up. You check the knot, the cord rough under your thumb, and hope it holds. You're back on the march now, the pouch a steady pressure against your hip, the tunic's coarse weave rubbing over it. The road's rutted, jarring your knees, and the air's thick with dust that stings your eyes. You adjust your belt, feeling the leather creak, the pouch safe in its hiding spot. Other tricks are out there, boots, swords, even buried caches, but this pouch feels right. It's yours, tied close, a piece of security in a world that's anything but. You glance at the soldier beside you, his hand brushing his belt. Another player in the game. You keep marching the pouch, your silent ally, one step at a time. You're still plodding along with this medieval army, the ground under your boots, a churned mess of mud and pebbles, the air heavy with the sharp, earthy scent of damp soil, and the faint musk of horse. That leather pouch tied to your belt is a quiet comfort, its weight pressing against your hip, a secret tucked beneath your tunic. You're getting the hang of this soldier's game, hiding your wealth where no one can snatch it. Your tunic's coin, your belt's pouch, they're like little anchors keeping you grounded in this chaotic march. But now you're eyeing your boots, those battered mud-caked things that have carried you through miles of misery. Could they hide a coin too? It's a risky move, but you're curious, and in this world, curiosity might just keep you one step ahead of the thieves. Picture yourself at Camp the Sky, a deep indigo stars prickling through the haze. The fire's died to embers, casting a faint glow, and the air's chilly, nipping at your knuckles. You're sitting on a stump, one boot off the leather, stiff and crusted with dirt. It smells like sweat and wet hide, a pungent whiff that makes you wrinkle your nose. Your foot's free, aching from the day's march, and you rub your toes, feeling the rough calluses. The boot's sole is worn but thick, and you're thinking, could you slip a coin in there? Maybe wedge it under the insole where no one's likely to look. You fish out a silver penny, its edge worn smooth, and press it against the insole's damp leather. It fits, but it's tight. You slide your foot back in the coin, a hard lump under your heel. "This is gonna hurt you," mutter, chuckling. That's your first joke tonight, laughing at your own bad ideas. Here's a mainstream historical fact: boots were a surprisingly common hiding spot for medieval soldiers, especially for small flat valuables like coins. In the 1200s and 1300s, boots were sturdy, often double-layered with leather insoles, perfect for concealing a penny or two. Soldiers on campaign, whether English longbowmen or German mercenaries, knew a thief might grab a pouch, but rarely checked a man's smelly boots. You'd tuck the coin under the insole or into a slit in the lining, then pray it didn't slip out mid-march. You imagine trying this now, stuffing cash into your sneakers before a hike. Sounds like a blister waiting to happen, but for a soldier it was worth the pain. Now for the quirky tidbit: some soldiers believed hiding coins in their boots could bring good luck like a charm against bad marches or ambushes. A few old tales mention men swearing their boot pennies saved them from disaster, maybe by bribing a guard or buying a loaf in a pinch. You grin, picturing yourself tapping your boot and whispering, "Thanks for the save, little coin." It's a bit daft, but when you're dodging arrows, you'll take any luck you can get. Historians still argue whether this boot luck belief was widespread or just a campfire story. Did every soldier trust their soles, or was it a quirk of the superstitious? The debate's open, but you like the idea of a coin doubling as a talisman. The sensory details pull you in. The boot's leather is cold, clammy against your fingers, its surface scarred from rocks and roots. The insole's damp, smelling of sweat and mildew, and the coin's sharp edge digs into your heel as you stand testing the fit. It's uncomfortable, no question, but it's hidden. The camp's quiet now, just the soft crackle of embers and a distant owl hooting. The air tastes of smoke and frost, and your breath puffs out in clouds. You glance at a soldier nearby, pulling off his own boots, wincing. Got a coin in there too, you wonder, catching his eye. He grunts, and you both look away, secrets unspoken. A modern aside: ever shoved a key in your shoe at the beach, then limped around all day? That's the soldier's vibe, except their shoe's a sweaty boot, and the key's their life savings. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier hopping on one foot, cursing as his coin slips out mid-march, muttering, "Bloody brilliant plan." It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real. Your coin could wear through the insole, or a sharp-eyed scavenger could spot you adjusting it. You flex your foot, feeling the pennies bite, and hope it stays put. You're marching again, the boots lump, a constant jab, the road's ruts jarring your knees. The air's thick with dust, stinging your eyes, and the faint clink of armor fills your ears. You adjust your belt, the pouch still safe, but your boot's coin feels bolder, riskier. Other tricks are out there: swords, buried caches, but this boot stash is yours, a painful but clever secret. You catch another soldier limping slightly, his hand brushing his ankle. Another player in the game. You keep moving, the coin's pressure, a reminder in this world even your boots have to earn their keep. You're still trudging through this medieval march, the sun dipping low, painting the sky with streaks of orange, and casting long shadows across the rutted path. The air's cooling, carrying the crisp scent of pine, and the faint metallic tang of armor polished with sweat. Your boots got that silver penny wedged under the insole, jabbing your heel with every step, and your belt pouch and tunic coin are still holding strong. You're a walking vault now, each secret stash a bed against the chaos of camp thieves and battlefield looters. But you're not done yet. Your eyes drift to the sword at your hip, its leather-wrapped hilt worn smooth from use. Could it hide something too? It's a wild idea, but these soldiers were nothing if not inventive, and you're ready to grip a new trick. Imagine you're at camp, the fire's glow flickering the air thick with the smoky scent of burning oak and the greasy whiff of boiled mutton. You're crouched by your gear, the ground cold and lumpy under your knees, grass poking through your breeches. Your sword's in your lap, its blade nicked from sparring, its hilt solid but unassuming. You run your fingers over the grip, feeling the leather's pebbled texture, the faint stickiness of old sweat. Then you notice something, a slight give at the pommel, like it's not quite fixed. You twist it, heart thudding, and it loosens, revealing a hollowed-out space inside the hilt. It's tiny, just big enough for a coin or a small jewel. You slip a gold piece in its edge, cold against your thumb, and it clinks softly. "Well, ain't that clever?" you mutter, grinning. That's your first joke tonight, marveling at a sword that's more than just a blade. Here's a mainstream historical fact: hollowed-out weapon handles were a real, if rare, hiding spot for medieval soldiers. In the 1300s, some swords and daggers had pommels or grips, designed with small compartments, often for relics or keepsakes, but soldiers repurposed them for valuables. A gold coin or a tiny gem could fit safe from prying eyes. This wasn't common. Crafting a hollow hilt took skill, but it was known among wealthier soldiers like knights or mercenaries who could afford custom gear. You picture trying this today, maybe hiding a USB drive in a fancy pen. Sneaky, but you'd need a good craftsman. Now for the quirky tidbit: some soldiers believed a coin in their sword's hilt could bless the blade, making it luckier in battle. A few surviving tales mention men swearing their hidden stash kept them alive, like the coin was a charm against death. You chuckle, imagining yourself tapping your sword and whispering, "Don't let me down, buddy." It's a bit loony, but when you're facing a wall of pikes, you'll take any edge. Historians still argue whether this was a widespread superstition or just a few romantics spinning yarns. Did every swordsman trust their hilt's luck, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open. But you like the idea of a coin doubling as a talisman. The sensory details pull you deeper. The hilt's leather is warm from your grip, its surface slick but firm, smelling faintly of oil and metal. The coin's weight shifts inside a faint rattle if you shake it, so you tighten the pommel, the metal cold and smooth. The camp's alive, the fire pops, sending sparks skyward. A soldier nearby snores, his breath whistling. The air tastes of smoke and damp earth. You slide the sword back into its scabbard, feeling the hilt's familiar bulk against your palm. You glance around, catching a comrade polishing his own blade, his eyes flicking to the hilt. Got a secret in there too, you wonder, but you don't ask. Secrets stay secret. A modern aside: ever hidden something in a hollowed-out book or a fake soda can? That's the vibe here. Except it's a sword. And the stakes are your life savings. You laugh softly, picturing a soldier unscrewing his pommel mid-battle, muttering, "Hang on, where's my gold like you?" Searching for a pen that's actually a safe. It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real. The pommel could loosen, or a sharp-eyed looter could know the trick. You check the hilt, the leather creaking under your fingers, and hope it holds. You're marching again, the sword's weight familiar at your hip, the hidden coin a quiet thrill. The road's uneven stones crunching underfoot, and the air's thick with dust that coats your tongue. Your boot's penny, your belt pouch, your tunic's coin, they're all still there, but the sword's secret feels bold, daring. Other tricks are out there, false souls, buried caches, but this hilt stash is yours, a warrior's gamble. You catch a soldier adjusting his scabbard, his hand lingering on the grip. Another player in the game. You keep moving the sword's hilt, a silent ally, one step at a time. You're still marching with this medieval army, the path winding through a valley where the air hangs heavy with the damp scent of moss and the faint, sour tang of unwashed bodies. The sun's low, its light glinting off the armor ahead, and your sword's hilt, hiding that secret gold coin, bumps your hip with every step. Your boot's penny jabs your heel, your belt pouch presses your waist, and your tunic's coin nudges your ribs. You're a walking treasure chest, each stash a hedge against the thieves and chaos of this campaign. But your boots are nagging you again. Not the coin inside, but the soles themselves. They're worn, patched, but maybe they're hiding more than you thought. Could you turn those creaky soles into a secret vault? It's a bold move, and you're ready to slip into another soldier's trick. Picture yourself at camp, the night air sharp with frost, the sky a deep velvet pricked with stars. The fire's down to glowing coals, casting a soft red glow, and the ground's cold, seeping through your breeches as you kneel. You've got one boot off its leather, cracked and caked with mud, smelling like a mix of wet hide and stale sweat. Your knife's in hand, its blade nicked but sharp, and you're prying at the sole where the leather's stitched to the upper. It's tough work, your fingers ache, and the knife slips, nearly nicking your thumb. "Careful, you daft sod," you mutter, chuckling. That's your first joke tonight, poking fun at your own clumsy hands. You find a loose stitch, and with a tug, the sole lifts just enough to reveal a thin gap. Perfect. You slide a silver penny in its edge, cool and smooth, and press the sole back down, hoping it holds. Here's a mainstream historical fact. False soles were a clever, if uncommon, hiding spot for medieval soldiers in the 1200s and 1300s. Boots often had layered soles, leather stacked and stitched for durability, and some soldiers carved or loosened them to create secret compartments. A coin or small jewel could fit pressed flat and hidden from all but the nosiest thief. This trick was more common among seasoned campaigners like mercenaries or knights' retainers who'd seen enough raids to get paranoid. You imagine trying this today, maybe taping cash inside your shoe's sole before a trip. Sounds like a sweaty mess, but for a soldier it was a lifeline. Now for the quirky tidbit: a few old stories claim soldiers marked their false soles with tiny symbols like a cross or a rune to bless the stash, or remind themselves which boot held the goods. One tale even mentions a guy who forgot and traded his boots, losing his fortune. You grin, picturing yourself scratching a smiley face on your soul, then muttering, "Don't sell these, idiot." It's a silly image, but when you're limping through a war zone, a reminder's not a bad idea. Historians still argue whether these marked souls were common or just a storyteller's flourish. Was every soldier carving secret signs, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open, but you like the idea of a boot with a hidden signature. The sensory details pull you in. The boot's leather is stiff, gritty with dirt, its surface cold against your fingers. The sole's rough smelling of damp earth and old leather, and the penny's weight feels foreign, a slight bulge under your touch. You lace the boot back on the coin, pressing your arch, an ache you'll have to live with. The camp's quiet, just the soft pop of coals and a distant snore. The air tastes of smoke and pine, and your breath curls in the chill. You glance at a soldier nearby, rubbing his own boots, his eyes sharp. Hiding something too, you wonder, but you don't ask. Secrets are the currency here. A modern aside: ever stuffed money in your shoe and regretted it halfway through a walk? That's the soldier's life, except their shoe's a battered boot, and the money's their shot at a future. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier kicking off his boots and groaning, "Why'd I think this was smart?" Like you cursing a bad parking spot. It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real. The sole could split, or a scavenger could notice you limping. You flex your foot, feeling the pennies bite, and hope it stays hidden. You're back on the march, the false sole's coin a subtle pressure, the road's stones jabbing your other foot. The air's thick with dust, stinging your eyes, and the faint clank of armor hums around you. Your sword's hilt, your belt pouch, your tunic's coin, they're all still there, but this boot's secret feels like a dare. Other tricks are out there, buried caches, trusted squires, but this false soul is yours. A painful gamble. You catch a soldier adjusting his boot, his hand quick. Another player in the game. You keep moving the soul's coin, a silent ally, one step at a time. You're still trudging along with this medieval army, the path now cutting through a dense forest where the air's thick with the damp, loamy scent of earth and the sharp bite of pine. Twilight settling in the sky, a bruised purple, and your boots sink slightly into the soft ground. The false soul's hidden penny pressing against your arch like a stubborn pebble. Your sword's hilt, belt pouch, and tunic coin are still safe, each a quiet victory in this game of secrets. But now you're thinking beyond your body, beyond the stitches and leather. What if you can't carry your wealth? What if the march gets too dangerous? You're starting to wonder about the ground itself, the earth under your feet. Could you bury your gold and come back for it later? It's a risky play, but these soldiers were gamblers, and you're ready to dig into a new trick. Picture yourself at camp, the moon high, its pale light filtering through the trees, casting dappled shadows. The air's cold, heavy, with the musty smell of wet leaves and the faint smoke of a dying fire. You're away from the others, crouched by a gnarled oak, its bark rough under your fingers. Your cloak's pulled tight against the chill, and you've got a small trowel, really just a broken dagger blade scraping at the dirt. The soil's damp, clinging to your hands, its cool, gritty texture smearing your skin. You dig a shallow hole just deep enough for a small leather wrap holding 2 silver coins. You place it in the bundle, soft but heavy, and cover it with earth, patting it smooth. "Don't forget this spot," you whisper, half joking to yourself. That's your first chuckle tonight, poking fun at your own paranoia. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Burying valuables was a common practice for medieval soldiers, especially during long campaigns when carrying wealth was risky. In the 1200s and 1300s, armies from England to the Holy Land faced constant threats, bandits, deserters, or enemy raids, so soldiers often hid their coins or jewels in the ground when they camped. They'd choose a spot near a landmark like a tree or rock and hope to return. Many didn't, leaving caches that archaeologists still find today. You imagine trying this now, maybe burying your wallet in your backyard before a trip. Sounds dramatic, but for a soldier, it was practical. Now for the quirky tidbit: some soldiers believed burying their stash under moonlight brought luck, like the moon's glow could guard the treasure. A few old tales mention men muttering prayers to the moon as they dug, hoping for divine protection. You grin, picturing yourself squinting at the sky, muttering, "Oi, moon, keep an eye on my coins." It's a bit bonkers, but when your life savings are in a hole, you'll try anything. Historians still argue whether this moonlight ritual was widespread, or just a poetic flourish in chronicles. Was every soldier a lunar devotee, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open, but you like the image of a grizzled mercenary whispering to the stars. The sensory details pull you deeper. The earth's cold, its dampness seeping into your knees as you kneel. The oak's bark is rough, flaking under your touch, smelling faintly of moss and resin. The coin's leather wrap is soft, slightly oily, and the dirt's gritty, sticking under your nails. You pause, listening the camp's distant hum, a soft rustle of leaves, the faint hoot of an owl. The air tastes of frost and pine, and your breath clouds in the moonlight. You glance back, making sure no one's followed. A soldier nearby is tending his fire, oblivious. Keep it that way, you think, brushing dirt off your hands. A modern aside, ever hidden something so well you forgot where it was, like cash in a sock drawer? That's the soldier's fear, except their sock drawer's a forest, and the cash is their future. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier pacing circles around a tree, muttering, "Was it this oak, or that one, like you, hunting for a lost phone?" It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real. Someone could spot you digging, or you might never return to this spot. You memorize the oak's twisted roots, hoping it's enough. You're back on the march, the buried coins, a secret left behind the forest, fading into dawn's mist. The road's muddy, sucking at your boots, and the air's thick with the scent of wet grass and leather. Your other stashes, boot pouch, tunic, sword, are still with you, but the buried cash feels different, like a promise to survive. Other tricks are out there, squires, monasteries, but this buried gold is yours, a gamble with the earth itself. You catch a soldier glancing at a tree, his eyes sharp, another player in the game. You keep moving the oak's memory, a quiet anchor, one step at a time. You're still marching with this medieval army, the forest path now opening into rolling fields, where the air carries the sweet, grassy scent of dew and the faint tang of wood smoke clinging to your cloak. Dawn's light softens the horizon, but your boots are heavy with mud, the hidden penny in your soul still nagging your heel. Your sword's hilt, belt pouch, and tunic coin are safe, and those buried coins under the oak linger in your mind like a whispered promise. You're a master of secrets now, but burying your gold was a gamble. You might never see that tree again. How do you make sure you find it? You're starting to think about marking the spot, turning a random patch of earth into a map only you can read. It's a delicate trick, and these soldiers were as crafty as they were paranoid. Picture yourself back at that moonlit camp, the air crisp, heavy with the damp, earthy smell of forest floor and the faint resin of pine. You're kneeling by the oak again, the buried coins safely tucked beneath the soil, your hands still gritty with dirt. The tree's bark is rough, its surface cool and knotted under your fingers. You need a sign, something subtle, nothing that screams treasure here to a passing thief. You pull out your knife, its blade glinting in the moonlight, and carve a small notch into the bark, just a shallow nick shaped like a half moon. It's barely noticeable, but to you it's a beacon. You brush away the wood shavings, their woody scent sharp, and step back, heart thudding. "Don't forget this, you muppet," you mutter, chuckling softly. That's your first joke tonight, poking fun at your own fear of losing the spot. Here's a mainstream historical fact: medieval soldiers often marked their buried caches with discreet signs like notches on trees, stacked stones, or even bent branches. In the 1200s and 1300s, when armies marched through unfamiliar lands, think Crusaders in the Levant or English troops in France, soldiers used these markers to navigate back to their stashes. The trick was balance too obvious, and you'd lead thieves right to it. Too vague, and you'd lose it yourself. Archaeologists sometimes find these caches near old landmarks, proof the system worked sometimes. You imagine trying this now, maybe scratching a mark on a park bench to hide your keys. Sounds sketchy, but for a soldier it was survival. Now for the quirky tidbit: some soldiers got superstitious about their markers, believing certain symbols like a cross or a circle could protect the cache from being found. A few old tales mention men carving saints' initials, hoping divine intervention would keep their gold safe. You grin, picturing yourself etching a tiny heart on the tree, muttering, "Guard my coins, Saint Valentine." It's a daft image, but when your wealth's in the dirt, a little faith goes a long way. Historians still argue whether these symbolic markers were common, or just a storyteller's flourish. Did every soldier carve a holy sign, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open, but you like the idea of a mercenary scribbling prayers into bark. The sensory details pull you in. The oak's bark is coarse, flaking under your knife, its woody scent mixing with the damp earth clinging to your knees. The notch feels smooth, a faint groove under your thumb, and the moonlight casts a silver glow, making the tree look almost alive. The camp's distant, a soft crackle of fire, a muffled cough, the faint rustle of leaves in the breeze. The air tastes of frost and moss, and your breath puffs out, curling in the chill. You glance around, making sure no one's watching. A soldier nearby is whittling a stick, oblivious. Stay that way, you think, wiping your knife on your cloak. A modern aside ever left a note to remind yourself where you parked your car, then still got lost. That's the soldier's dread, except their note's a tree notch and the car's their life savings. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier staring at a forest, muttering, "Was it the oak or the bloody birch?" Like you hunting for your car in a mall lot. It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real. Someone could spot your mark, or you might misremember it. You trace the notch again, memorizing its feel, and hope it's enough. You're back on the march, the oak's notch a secret etched in your mind, the field stretching wide under a pale sky. The road's grassy soft underfoot, and the air's fresh, tinged with clover and leather. Your other stashes, boot pouch, tunic sword, are still with you, but the buried cache and its marker feel like a pact with the earth. Other tricks are out there, squires, merchants, but this notched tree is yours, a silent vow to return. You catch a soldier eyeing a boulder, his glance quick. Another player in the game. You keep moving the oak's memory. A quiet guide, one step at a time. You're still plodding along with this medieval army, the field stretching wide under a gray sky, the air sharp with the scent of crushed grass and the faint, oily tang of polished armor. Your boots churn the soft earth, the penny in your soul. A dull ache while your sword's hilt, belt pouch, and tunic coin stay snug each. A quiet win in this game of secrets. That notched oak and its buried coins feel like a distant dream, now a gamble left to the forest's mercy. But what if you don't want to trust the earth? What if you need someone to carry your wealth? Someone you can well almost trust. You're starting to think about comrades, the men around you, and whether one of them could hold your gold. It's a risky move, but these soldiers leaned on each other sometimes, and you're ready to hand over a secret. Picture yourself at camp, the evening air heavy, with the smoky scent of burning logs and the savory whiff of stew bubbling nearby. The firelight dances, casting shadows on the faces around you, and the ground's damp soaking through your breeches as you sit cross-legged. You're eyeing your squire, a lanky lad with a mop of hair and a nervous grin. He's polishing your boots, the leather gleaming, and you've known him for months. He's loyal, or so you hope, and you're holding a small cloth bundle with a silver penny inside. You lean forward, the fire's heat warming your face, and pass it to him, your voice low. "Keep this safe," you say, your fingers brushing his, the cloth soft but heavy. He nods, tucking it into his tunic, and you smirk. "Don't spend it on ale." "Yeah, that's your first joke tonight." A playful jab to ease the tension. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Medieval soldiers, especially those with squires or close comrades, sometimes entrusted their valuables to trusted companions during campaigns. In the 1200s and 1300s, squires, young men serving knights, often acted as aides, carrying gear coins or even messages. A soldier might hand over a small stash to a squire or a battle buddy, hoping loyalty would outweigh temptation. It wasn't foolproof, but it was common, especially for knights or wealthier mercenaries who had someone to trust. You imagine trying this now, maybe asking your best mate to hold your wallet during a trip. Risky, but sometimes you've got no choice. Now for the quirky tidbit, some soldiers sealed these deals with odd rituals like swearing an oath over a shared drink or a saint's relic, believing it'd bind the companion's loyalty. A few tales mention men spitting into their palms before shaking hands, a gritty vow against betrayal. You grin, picturing yourself spitting and shaking with your squire, muttering, "Don't muck this up, lad. It's a bit gross, but when your gold's on the line, you'll try anything." Historians still argue whether these rituals were widespread or just colorful anecdotes. Did every soldier demand a spit handshake, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open, but you like the idea of a solemn pact, sealed with a grimace. The sensory details pull you in. The fire's heat prickles your skin, its smoky scent curling into your nose, mixing with the stew's greasy aroma. The cloth bundle's soft, its weave rough under your fingers, and the penny inside feels solid, a cold weight. The squire's hand is clammy, his tunic smelling of sweat and horse. The camp's alive, the fire crackles, a man laughs hoarsely, and a distant horse snorts. The air tastes of ash and damp grass, and your breath catches, hoping you've chosen right. You glance at another soldier, muttering to his own comrade, their heads close. Another secret deal, you think, your stomach twisting with doubt. A modern aside ever lent a friend cash and spent the whole day worrying they'd ghost you. That's the soldier's vibe. Except their cash is a coin that could buy a cow, and the friend's a squire who might bolt. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier glaring at his squire, muttering, "I see you eyeing that tavern lad." It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real. Your squire could run or sell you out for a better deal. You watch him, his nervous grin flickering, and hope loyalty wins. You're back on the march, the squire trailing behind your bundle in his care. The road's uneven, stones crunching underfoot, and the air's fresh, tinged with clover and leather. Your other stashes, boot pouch, tunic, sword, buried coins are still yours, but this handed-off penny feels like a leap of faith. Other tricks are out there, monasteries, merchants, but this squire's your gamble, a human vault. You catch a soldier glancing at his own aid, his jaw tight. Another player in the game. You keep moving the squire's footsteps. A quiet echo, one step at a time. You're still marching with this medieval army, the fields now sloping into a muddy plain where the air's thick with the damp scent of wet earth and the faint, acrid whiff of burning pitch from torches ahead. The squire trailing you has your silver penny tucked in his tunic, and you're half convinced he's eyeing the nearest tavern, though you hope that spit handshake oath holds. Your boots, coin belt pouch, tunic stitch, sword's hilt, and that notched oak's buried stash. They're all still with you, a constellation of secrets keeping you sane. But now your attention's drifting to the edges of the camp, where the camp followers move like shadows, cooks, washerwomen, merchants trailing the army's chaos. Could one of them hold your gold? It's a strange thought, but these soldiers trusted unlikely allies, and you're ready to explore their world. Picture yourself at camp, the twilight air heavy with the savory scent of sizzling fat and the smoky tang of wood fires. You're near the camp's edge, where the followers' tents cluster, their canvas flapping softly. The ground's churned sticky with mud, and you're standing by a cook's fire, its heat warming your shins. A woman, broad-shouldered, her apron stained with grease, stirs a pot, the steam smelling of onions and barley. She's one of the followers, part of the army's tale, and you've seen her before bartering with soldiers. You've got a small coin, a copper farthing, and you're wondering if she'd keep it safe. You step closer, the firelight glinting in her eyes, and slip her the coin wrapped in a scrap of cloth. Hide this, you whisper, your voice low. She nods, tucking it into her belt. And you smirk. Don't cook it in the stew, all right. That's your first joke tonight, a light jab to mask your nerves. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Camp followers were vital to medieval armies in the 1200s and 1300s, and soldiers sometimes entrusted them with valuables. These followers, women and men who provided food, laundry, or supplies, were often seen as less likely to be targeted by thieves, blending into the camp's bustle. In English or French campaigns, a cook or washerwoman might hold a soldier's coin for a fee, stashing it among their goods. It was a practical choice. Followers stayed behind during battles, their carts a safer bet than a soldier's pocket. You imagine trying this now, maybe asking a food truck vendor to hold your cash during a festival. Sketchy, but it could work. Now for the quirky tidbit. Some soldiers believed camp followers, especially women, had a knack for hiding things, almost like a folk magic. A few old stories mention cooks sewing coins into bread loaves or burying them in flour sacks, swearing no thief would look there. You grin, picturing yourself handing over a coin and saying, "Bake it into a bun, but don't eat it." It's a daft idea, but when your wealth's at stake, a loaf sounds as good as a vault. Historians still argue whether this was a common practice or just a romanticized tale. Were followers really master hiders, or was it a soldier's desperate hope? The debate's open, but you like the image of a cook guarding gold in her dough. The sensory details pull you in. The fire's heat licks your face, its smoky scent mingling with the stew's rich, greasy aroma. The coin's cloth wrap is rough, smelling faintly of dirt, and the cook's hands are warm, calloused, brushing yours as she takes it. The camp's alive, pots clatter, a woman laughs sharply, and a cart creaks nearby. The air tastes of ashen onions, and your boots stick in the mud, cold seeping through. You glance around, catching a soldier haggling with another follower, his voice low. Another deal, you think, your stomach knotting with doubt. A modern aside, ever left your bag with a stranger at a coffee shop while you hit the restroom, then panicked the whole time? That's the soldier's vibe, except their bag's a coin and the stranger's a cook who might vanish. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier sniffing his stew, muttering, "Better not taste like my farthing." It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real. She could bolt, or a thief could raid her cart. You watch her stir the pot, her movement steady, and hope you chose right. You're back on the march, the cook's fire a fading glow, your farthing in her care. The road's slick mud sucking at your boots, and the air's fresh, tinged with grass and leather. Your other stashes, boot pouch, tunic, sword, buried coins, squire's penny, are still yours, but this cook's coin feels like a wild card. Other tricks are out there, monasteries, merchants, but this follower's your gamble, a human safe in the camp's chaos. You catch a soldier glancing at a washerwoman, his hand subtle. Another player in the game. You keep moving the cook's fire, a distant memory, one step at a time. You're still trudging through this medieval army's march. The muddy plain stretching under a sky heavy with clouds. The air thick with the damp scent of rain-soaked grass and the faint musky tang of wet wool. Your boots slog through the mire, the penny in your soul, a nagging ache, while your sword's hilt, belt, pouch, tunic, coin, buried stash, squire's penny, and that cook's farthing form a web of secrets keeping you grounded. You're a master of hiding now, but all these tricks, stitches, pouches, boots, and allies come with a catch. They're heavy, risky, and a constant worry. What if there's another way? What if you just carried less? You're starting to wonder why some soldiers chose to travel light, leaving their wealth behind. It's a bold choice, and you're ready to step into their mindset. Picture yourself at camp, the evening air cool, heavy, with the earthy smell of mud and the smoky whiff of damp fires struggling to burn. You're sitting on a log, your cloak wrapped tight, its wool scratching your neck. The camp's bustling men sharpening blades, a squire hauling water, the cook from last night stirring her pot, its oniony steam curling in the air. You're holding nothing but a crust of bread, its surface rough and gritty, and you're chewing slowly, feeling the weight of your hidden coins. They're safe, but they're also a burden, every step, every glance, a reminder of what you could lose. You're thinking about the soldier across the fire, a wiry archer with a patched tunic and no nervous pats, no sneaky glances. He's got nothing to hide. Smart or stupid, you mutter, smirking. That's your first joke tonight, poking fun at a choice that feels both brave and reckless. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Many medieval soldiers, especially lower-ranking ones, like archers or footmen, carried minimal wealth on campaigns in the 1200s and 1300s. Why armies were chaotic raids, desertions, and battles made carrying valuables a gamble. Instead, soldiers left their wealth with family and villages or with trusted figures like priests, taking only enough for immediate needs like a few pennies for food or bribes. This was common in English and French armies where a peasant levy might march with just a knife and a prayer. You imagine trying this now, heading on a trip with just a debit card and no cash. Freeing but terrifying if things go south. Now for the quirky tidbit, some soldiers took this to an extreme, carrying lucky tokens instead of coins like a polished stone or a saint's medal, believing these held more value than gold in a pinch. A few tales mention men trading these tokens for food or safe passage, swearing their faith paid off. You grin, picturing yourself swapping a shiny rock for a burger, muttering, "Take it, it's blessed, it's a wild idea, but when you're broke and desperate, a token's as good as gold." Historians still argue whether this was a widespread practice or just a romanticized story. Did every soldier ditch coins for charms, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open. But you like the idea of a man betting his life on a pebble. The sensory details pull you in. The log's bark is rough, damp under your thighs, smelling faintly of moss. Your bread stale, its crust scraping your teeth, and the fire's smoke stings your eyes, mixing with the mud's earthy tang. The camp's alive, a hammer clangs on armor. A horse snorts, and the cook's pot hisses softly. The air tastes of ash and rain, and your cloak's weight drags your shoulders, the hidden coins pressing your skin. You glance at the archer, his face relaxed, unburdened. No coins, no worries, you think. But your stomach twists. Could you do it? A modern aside, ever gone out with just your phone, no wallet, and felt weirdly free but also exposed? That's the soldier's vibe, except their phone's a lucky stone and the world's a battlefield. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier tossing his coins away, muttering, "Sod it. I'm free now," like you ditching your bag for a night out. It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real. Traveling light means no backup if you're stranded or captured. You pat your tunic, feeling the coins lump, and wonder if you're too paranoid to let go. You're back on the march, the archer striding lightly ahead, his steps unburdened. The road's slick mud clinging to your boots, and the air's fresh, tinged with wet grass and leather. Your stashes, boot pouch, tunic, sword, buried coins, squire, cook are still yours, but the idea of traveling light feels like a dare. Other tricks are out there, monasteries, merchants, but this minimal choice is a new angle, a soldier's gamble on freedom. You catch another soldier, his hands empty, his face calm, another player in the game. You keep moving, the weight of your secrets heavy, one step at a time. You're still slogging through this medieval army's march. The muddy plain giving way to a winding trail where the air's sharp with the scent of wet stone and the faint, musty whiff of moss clinging to rocks. The clouds hang low, spitting a fine drizzle that soaks your cloak, its wool heavy, and scratching your neck. Your boots, penny belt, pouch, tunic, coin, sword's hilt, buried stash. Squire's penny, cook's farthing, they're all still with you. a constellation of secrets weighing you down. That archer's light step from last night, unburdened by wealth, has you thinking. Maybe carrying less is freedom. But what if you could leave your gold somewhere safer than a squire's pocket or a cook's cart? You're starting to imagine a stone-walled monastery. Its quiet halls, a fortress for your coins. It's a new kind of trust, and you're ready to step into its shadowed cloisters. Picture yourself at dusk, standing before a monastery's iron-bound gate. The air cool, heavy with the earthy scent of damp straw, and the faint incense wafting from within. The stone walls loom cold and smooth under your hand, their surface pitted by years of wind. You've got a small leather pouch, its hide worn soft, holding 2 silver pennies too precious to carry into battle. A monk, his robe brushing the ground, opens the gate, his face calm but sharp-eyed. You pass him the pouch, the leather warm from your grip, and he nods, tucking it into his sleeve. God watches over it, he says, his voice low. You smirk, muttering, "Hope, God's got a good memory." That's your first joke tonight, a cheeky jab to ease the knot in your gut. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Monasteries were often used as safe deposits for valuables in medieval Europe during the 1200s and 1300s. Soldiers, merchants, and even nobles entrusted monks with coins, jewels, or deeds, especially before risky campaigns like the Crusades or 100 Years' War. Monasteries were seen as neutral, protected by their religious status, and monks were less likely to be robbed, though not immune. You'd leave your wealth for a fee or donation, hoping to reclaim it later. You imagine trying this now, maybe locking your valuables in a bank vault before a trip. Safer, but you'd still worry. Now for the quirky tidbit some soldiers believed, leaving coins with monks blessed their wealth, like a holy insurance policy against loss. A few tales mention men asking monks to pray over their stashes, swearing it kept thieves away. You grin, picturing yourself slipping a monk an extra penny, muttering, "Throw in a prayer for my horse, too." It's a daft hope, but when your gold's in a cloister, a little divine backup feels nice. Historians still argue whether this was a common belief or just a pious exaggeration. Did every soldier seek a monk's blessing, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open, but you like the idea of a mercenary banking on heaven's vault. The sensory details pull you in. The monastery's gate creaks its iron, cold and rusty under your fingers. The air smells of wax and old stone with a faint sweetness from the monk's herb garden. The pouch's leather is soft, slightly damp, and the coins inside clink faintly, a sound that makes you wince. The monk's robe rustles his sandals, scuffing the flagstones, and the distant chant of vespers echoes low and haunting. The camp's far off, a faint clatter of pots, a horse's whinny. The air tastes of rain and sanctity, and your breath catches, hoping you've made the right call. You glance back, catching a soldier lingering near the gate, his hand subtle. Another deal, you think, doubt creeping in. A modern aside ever. Left your valuables with someone you barely know, like a hotel, safe and obsessed over it all day. That's the soldier's vibe, except their safe's a monk, and the valuables are their shot at a future. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier pacing outside the monastery, muttering, "Better not fund a new altar with my silver." It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real. The monk could misplace it, or the monastery could be raided. You watch the gate close its thud heavy, and hope faith holds. You're back on the march, the monastery's walls fading into the mist, your pennies in the monk's care. The trail's rocky, jabbing your soles, and the air's fresh, tinged with wet grass and leather. Your other stashes, boot pouch, tunic sword, buried coins, squire cook, are still yours. But the monastery's vault feels like a weight, lifted. Other tricks are out there, merchants, minimalism, but this holy safe is your gamble, a sacred trust. You catch a soldier glancing at a distant chapel, his eyes sharp. Another player in the game. You keep moving, the monastery's echo. A quiet anchor, one step at a time. You're still marching with this medieval army, the rocky trail now winding through a valley where the air's crisp with the scent of wild thyme and the faint dusty tang of sun-warmed stone. The drizzle's stopped, but your cloak's still damp, clinging to your shoulders, its wool heavy with the musky smell of wet sheep. Your boots, penny belt pouch, tunic coin, sword's hilt, buried stash, squire's penny, cook's farthing, and those monastery pennies, they're all part of your secret arsenal. Each a bet against the chaos of this campaign. But the monastery's stone walls, safe as they seemed, are far behind now, and you're wondering about other allies. What about the merchants trailing the army, their carts creaking with goods? Could one of them hold your gold? It's a new gamble, and you're ready to step into the bustling world of trade. Picture yourself at camp, the afternoon sun slanting low, the air thick with the spicy scent of cloves and the greasy whiff of tallow from a merchant's cart nearby. You're standing by a wooden stall, its planks worn smooth, piled with bolts of cloth and sacks of grain. The merchant, a wiry man with a sharp beard and sharper eyes, haggles with a soldier over a knife. His tunic's bright dyed blue, smelling faintly of saffron and sweat. You've got a small coin, a silver groat wrapped in a scrap of linen, its weave soft but gritty. You catch his eye stepping close and pass him the coin, your fingers brushing his calloused palm. "Keep this safe," you say, voice barely above the camp's din. He nods, slipping it into a locked box under his stall, the key glinting at his belt. You smirk, muttering, "Don't trade it for bad wine." That's your first joke tonight, a light jab to mask the twitch of doubt. Here's a mainstream historical fact: merchants often acted as informal bankers for medieval soldiers in the 1200s and 1300s, especially during campaigns like the 100 Years' War or Crusades. Armies attracted traders selling food, weapons, or cloth, and soldiers entrusted them with coins or valuables for safekeeping, sometimes for a fee. Merchants had locked chests and guards, making them safer than a squire's pocket or a soldier's boot. This was common in English, French, and Italian armies, where a merchant's cart was a mobile vault. You imagine trying this now, maybe asking a street vendor to hold your cash during a festival. Risky, but better than a pickpocket's hands. Now, for the quirky tidbit, some soldiers believed merchants used trade charms like a coin blessed by a market saint to protect their stashes from theft. A few stories mention traders slipping a soldier's coin into a sack of blessed salt, swearing it confused thieves. You grin, picturing yourself handing over your groat, muttering, "Toss it in the magic salt, mate." It's a wild idea, but when your wealth's in a cart, a pinch of superstition feels right. Historians still argue whether this was a widespread practice, or just a merchant sales pitch. Did every trader peddle charmed salt, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open, but you like the image of a coin nestled in salty sanctity. The sensory details pull you in. The stall's wood is warm, its grain rough under your fingers, smelling faintly of dust and wax. The linen wrap soft, the groat's edge hard and cool, and the merchant's box clicks shut, its iron lock heavy. The camp's alive, a hammer clangs, a woman haggles loudly, and the cart sacks rustle, their spicy scent tickling your nose. The air tastes of smoke and herbs, and your boots sink into the soft earth, cool and gritty. You glance around, catching a soldier leaning close to another merchant, his hand subtle. Another deal, you think, your chest tightening with unease. A modern aside: ever left your card with a bartender to start a tab, then worried they'd run off with it? That's the soldier's vibe, except their card's a coin, and the bartender's a merchant who might roll out at dawn. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier eyeing his groat's box, muttering, "Better not buy a new cart with that." It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real. The merchant could vanish, or his cart could be raided. You watch him lock the box, his key jangling, and hope greed doesn't win. You're back on the march, the merchant's stall a fading speck, your groat in his care. The trail's dusty pebbles crunching underfoot, and the air's fresh tinged with grass and leather. Your other stashes, boot pouch, tunic, sword, buried coins, squire, cook, monastery, are still yours, but this merchant's box feels like a calculated risk. Other tricks are out there, minimalism, betrayals sting, but this trader's your gamble, a vault on wheels. You catch a soldier glancing at a passing cart, his eyes sharp. Another player in the game. You keep moving the merchant's key, a distant jingle, one step at a time. You're still trudging with this medieval army, the dusty trail now cutting through a rocky gorge where the air's sharp with the flinty scent of stone and the faint sour tang of sweat-soaked leather. The sun's high, baking your cloak, its damp wool steaming slightly, weighing on your shoulders. Your boots, penny belt, pouch, tunic, coin, sword's hilt, buried stash, squire's penny, cook's farthing, monastery pennies, and that merchant's groat. They're all still with you. A web of secrets tying you to this march. But trust is a fragile thing, and you're starting to feel the sting of doubt. That squire's nervous grin, the cook's sharp eyes, the merchant's jangling key. What if one of them betrays you? You're wondering now about the risks of trusting others, the knife edge of betrayal that every soldier feared. It's a dark thought, and you're ready to face its shadow. Picture yourself at camp, the evening air thick with the smoky scent of burning pine and the greasy whiff of roasted meat. You're crouched by a fire, its heat prickling your face, the ground hard and pebbled under your knees. Your squire's nearby polishing your sword, but you catch him glancing at his tunic where your penny's hidden. His fingers linger and your stomach twists. You trusted him, spat in your palm, made that oath, but now you're not so sure. You lean closer, the fire's glow catching his eyes, and whisper, "You still got my coin, lad." He nods too quick, and you force a grin. "Don't make me regret this," you mutter, half joking. That's your first joke tonight. A sharp jab to hide the cold grip of suspicion. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Betrayal was a constant threat for medieval soldiers entrusting valuables to others in the 1200s and 1300s. Squires, camp followers, or merchants might seem loyal, but greed or desperation could turn them. Chronicles from the 100 Years' War mention soldiers losing fortunes to comrades who fled or sold their stashes, especially in chaotic campaigns where loyalty was thin. A squire might run off with a knight's gold, or a merchant might lose a coin in a rigged deal. You imagine trying this now, lending your phone to a coworker and catching them eyeing it weirdly. Trust is a gamble then, and now. Now for the quirky tidbit, some soldiers used cursed threats to deter betrayal, swearing that stealing their coin would bring bad luck, like a saint's wrath or a demon's curse. A few tales mention men spitting on their coins before handing them over, claiming it'd hex the thief. You grin, picturing yourself spitting on your groat, muttering, "Steal this and you're cursed, mate." It's a wild move, but when your wealth's in someone's hands, a spooky threat feels good. Historians still argue whether these curses were common or just campfire bravado. Did every soldier play the hex card, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open, but you like the idea of a mercenary banking on fear. The sensory details pull you in. The fire's heat stings your cheeks, its smoky scent curling into your nose, mixing with the meat's fatty aroma. Your cloak's rough, damp smelling of wool and dirt, and your fingers grip your knees, nails digging into breeches. The squire's tunic rustles, his hands quick, and the camp's alive. A pot clatters, a man curses, a horse snorts in the dark. The air tastes of ash and tension, and your breath catches, watching his every move. You glance around, catching a soldier glaring at his own comrade, his jaw tight. Another trust on the line, you think, your heart thudding with doubt. A modern aside: ever lent a friend money and felt that sinking vibe when they dodge your texts? That's the soldier's fear, except their money's a coin, and the friend might vanish into a war zone. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier stalking his squire, muttering, "I'll haunt you if you nick my penny." It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risks real betrayal could leave you broke, stranded, or worse. You watch the squire, his hands fidgety, and hope your oath holds stronger than his greed. You're back on the march, the squire trailing his steps, heavy with your suspicion. The gorge's walls loom, dust stinging your eyes, and the air's dry, tinged with stone and leather. Your other stashes, boot pouch, tunic sword, buried coins, cook monastery merchant, are still yours. But this fear of betrayal feels like a new weight. Other tricks are out there, minimalism, battles, chaos, but this trusts your gamble. A human flaw in your armor. You catch a soldier eyeing his aide, his hand twitching. Another player in the game. You keep moving the squire's shadow, a quiet warning, one step at a time. Your head, or your gold, you mutter, a grim chuckle cutting through the panic. That's your first joke tonight, a dark jab to keep your nerves steady. The battle's chaos is everywhere, men shouting, steel clashing the ground slick under your boots. You're not just fighting for survival. You're guarding your secrets, praying your stashes hold through the madness. Here's a mainstream historical fact. During medieval battles in the 1200s and 1300s, soldiers faced a brutal reality. Combat was a prime time for losing valuables. Battles like Crécy or Bannockburn were chaotic, with looting rampant. Soldiers' hidden coins or jewels could be stolen by enemies, scavengers, or even comrades in the confusion. Those who hid wealth on their bodies, sewn into tunics or tucked in boots, had a better chance of keeping it, but a fallen soldier's gear was fair game. You imagine trying this now, running through a riot with cash stuffed in your jacket, dodging grabs at every turn. It's a nightmare, but for these soldiers it was just another day. Now for the quirky tidbit, some soldiers believed wearing a lucky garment like a tunic, blessed by a priest, could protect their hidden stashes in battle. A few tales mention men swearing their sewn coins survived because of a saint's favor, not just clever stitching. You grin, picturing yourself tugging your tunic, muttering, "Saint George, don't let my penny fly." It's a wild hope, but when arrows are raining, a blessed shirt sounds better than nothing. Historians still argue whether this was a common superstition or just a desperate soldier's tale. Did every man trust a holy tunic, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open, but you like the idea of faith as a shield for your gold. The sensory details pull you in. The shield's wood is rough splinters, pricking your palm, its surface smelling of pine and sweat. The air's thick with dust and smoke stinging your eyes, and the ground's a churned mess mud sucking at your boots, the penny in your soul a sharp jab. Your tunic's damp clinging to your ribs, the coin's lump a constant nudge. The battle's roar surrounds you. Steel screams, a horse shrieks, and a man's cry cuts off sharply. The air tastes of ash and blood, and your breath rasps, every muscle taut. You glance around, catching a soldier scrambling, his hand clutching his belt. Protecting his own stash, you think your pulse racing. A modern aside, ever clutched your phone in a crowded subway, scared it'll get swiped? That's the soldier's vibe, except their phone's a coin and the subway's a battlefield with swords. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier dodging a lance, muttering, "Not my gold," you sod like you guarding your bag in a mob. It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real, an arrow could end you, or a looter could strip your corpse before you're cold. You grip your shield tighter, the pouch at your hip a heavy secret, and pray you make it through. You're still in the fight, weaving through the chaos, your sword swinging its hilt's coin a faint rattle. An enemy charges, his axe raised, and you parry the jolt, shaking your arm. Your boot slips in the mud, the penny's bite grounding you, and you shove forward, heart pounding. The battle's a blur. Men fall, banners topple, and smoke chokes the air. You spot a comrade, his tunic torn frantically, patting his chest. Lost his coin, you think a pang of fear for your own. The battle's not just about survival. It's about holding on to what's yours. You duck behind a fallen horse, its hide warm and slick, and check your pouch fingers trembling. Still there. You exhale, but the fight's not over. The chaos tests every trick you've learned. Your tunic stitch holds, but the fabric's fraying. The boot's penny aches, but it's safe. The sword's hilt rattles, but it's yours. The squire, cook, monastery merchant, they're miles away, useless now. The buried stash under the oak, a distant hope. You're on your own, your secrets clinging to you like a second skin. You glance at the soldier beside you, his eyes wild, clutching his own hidden wealth. Another player in the game, fighting the same fight. The battle rages the air, a cacophony of death and desperation. And you keep moving your stashes. Your only anchor, one swing at a time. You're still caught in the relentless grind of this medieval army's march. The battlefield's chaos, now a grim memory, as the plain stretches wide again. The air heavy, with the stale scent of churned earth, and the faint coppery tang of blood, lingering on your cloak. Your boots slog through mud, the penny in your soul a constant ache. While your tunic's coin belt, pouch, sword's hilt, buried stash, squire's penny, cook's farthing, monastery pennies, and merchant's groat cling to you like ghosts of the fight. Just survived. The battle tested your secrets, but now a new shadow looms, desertion. You're starting to hear whispers in the camp, men eyeing the horizon, their steps faltering. Could you slip away, taking your wealth with you? Or would fleeing risk it all? It's a desperate choice, and you're ready to walk the edge of this dangerous path. Picture yourself at camp, the night air thick with the smoky scent of damp wood and the sour whiff of unwashed bodies huddled close. You're crouched by a dying fire, its embers glowing faintly, the ground cold and lumpy under your knees. Your cloak's torn, smelling of sweat and ash, and you're clutching your belt pouch, feeling the coin's hard edge through the leather. Across the fire, a soldier, gaunt, his eyes hollow, mutters about running, his voice low. "No more of this," he says, glancing at the dark beyond the camp. You've thought it too, slip away, vanish into the night, your stash is safe with you. But the risk twists your gut. You lean back, the fire's heat fading, and mutter, "Run," and you're a target for bandits. That's your first joke tonight, a bitter chuckle, to mask the fear creeping in. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Desertion was a serious issue in medieval armies during the 1200s and 1300s, especially in grueling campaigns like the Crusades or 100 Years' War. Soldiers fled for many reasons: hunger, fear, or the lure of freedom, often taking their valuables with them. Chronicles note deserters being hunted, their hidden coins or jewels making them targets for bandits or vengeful comrades. Keeping wealth safe while fleeing was tough. A tunic stitch or boot's penny might survive, but a squire or merchant's stash was lost unless you carried it. You imagine trying this now, sneaking out of a bad job with your savings, dodging cops or muggers. Freedom's tempting, but the cost is steep. Now for the quirky tidbit, some deserters left decoy stashes, fake bundles of cloth or pebbles to trick pursuers into thinking they'd found the real treasure. A few tales mention men laughing as bandits fought over worthless sacks while the deserter slipped away. You grin, picturing yourself tossing a bag of rocks into a bush, muttering, "Have fun, lads." It's a clever ruse, but pulling it off under pressure's no joke. Historians still argue whether this was a common trick or just a romanticized story. Did every deserter play decoy, or was it a rare quirk? The debate's open, but you like the idea of outsmarting a thief with a handful of gravel. The sensory details pull you in. The fire's embers crackle softly, their smoky scent mixing with the damp earth's musty tang. Your cloak's rough, its torn edge catching your fingers, and the pouch's leather is warm, slick with sweat. The camp's tense, a man coughs, a sword clanks, and the wind carries a distant wolf's howl. The air tastes of ash and fear, and your breath catches eyeing the dark beyond the firelight. You glance at the gaunt soldier, his hands twitching, maybe checking his own hidden coin. He's half gone already, you think, your pulse quickening with the thought of running. A modern aside, ever quit a toxic job on impulse, grabbing your stuff and bolting, then worried you'd left something behind? That's the deserter's vibe. Except their stuff's a coin, and the job's a war that could kill them. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier sprinting into the woods, muttering, "Sod this, I'm keeping my penny," like you storming out with your laptop. It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real desertion means bandits' capture or starvation, and your stashes might not survive the flight. You pat your pouch, feeling the coin's weight, and wonder if you're brave or foolish enough to run. You're back on the march, the gaunt soldier's whispers echoing in your head, the plain stretching under a pale dawn. The road's rutted stones jabbing your soles, and the air's fresh, tinged with grass and leather. Your stashes, boot pouch, tunic sword, buried coins, Squire Cook monastery merchant, are still yours. But the idea of desertion feels like a spark, dangerous and alive. Other risks are out there, battles, chaos, betrayal, but this flight's your gamble, a chance to break free. You catch a soldier lagging his eyes on the horizon, another player in the game. You keep moving, the weight of your secrets heavy, one step at a time. You're still trudging with this medieval army, the plain now dipping into a fog-shrouded valley where the air's damp, heavy with the scent of wet clover and the faint, acrid whiff of rust from armor, soaked by last night's rain. Your boots sink into the soft earth, the penny in your soul, a dull throb, while your tunic's coin belt pouch, sword's hilt, buried stash, squire's penny cooks, farthing monastery pennies, and merchant's groat weigh on you like silent promises. The whispers of desertion still linger, that gaunt soldier's hollow eyes haunting your thoughts. But the march drags on, and you're starting to wonder about the bigger picture. How much wealth did soldiers really carry? Why risk so much to hide it? You're diving into the debates scholars still wrestle with, stepping out of the mud and into the hazy world of history's unanswered questions. Picture yourself at camp, the evening air thick with the smoky scent of burning logs and the earthy tang of mud churned by 100 boots. You're leaning against a cart, its wood rough and splintered, smelling faintly of hay and wax. The firelight flickers, casting shadows on the faces around you, soldiers laughing, a squire sharpening a blade, the cook stirring her pot, its oniony steam curling up. You're thinking about your stashes, each one a tiny fortress, and wondering, was it worth it? Did every soldier carry a fortune? Or were you an outlier, paranoid and weighed down? You pat your tunic, feeling the coins lump, and mutter, "Hope. Historians figure this out someday." That's your first joke tonight, a wry nod to the centuries between you and the scholars, puzzling over your life. Here's a mainstream historical fact: medieval soldiers in the 1200s and 1300s varied widely in how much wealth they carried, depending on rank and role. Knights and mercenaries often had coins, jewels, or loot from past campaigns, while peasant levies or archers might carry only a few pennies for food or bribes. Chronicles from battles like Agincourt show that wealthier soldiers hid valuables to protect their status, while poorer ones relied on minimalism or luck. Hiding tricks, sewn tunics, boot soles, buried caches were common but not universal, shaped by the soldier's means and paranoia. You imagine trying this now, stashing cash for a trip based on your budget. Some pack a wallet, others just a card. Now for the quirky tidbit, some scholars point to odd finds like coins wrapped in cloth with strange markings, suggesting soldiers used coded stashes to confuse thieves or mark ownership. A few digs have uncovered these bundles, hinting at personal rituals we'll never fully understand. You grin, picturing yourself tying a red thread around your groat, muttering, "Good luck cracking my code, bandits." It's a quirky move, but when your life savings are at stake, a secret knot feels clever. Historians still argue whether these coded stashes were widespread or just isolated quirks. Did every soldier play cryptographer, or were these rare oddities? The debate's open, But you like the idea of a coin wrapped in mystery. The sensory details pull you in. The cart's wood is cool, its grain gritty under your fingers, and your cloak's damp smelling of wool and smoke. The fire's heat warms your shins, its crackle mixing with the camp's hum, a man's laugh, a horse's snort, the clink of a spoon against a pot. The air tastes of ash and damp grass, and your breath curls in the fog. Your stash is a constant weight, physical and mental. You glance at a soldier, his hand brushing his belt, maybe checking his own coded coin. We're all guessing. You think the mystery of it all settling like the fog around you. A modern aside, ever read a history book and wondered what they got wrong about your life? That's the soldier's vibe, except their life's a muddy march, and the book's a scholar's guess centuries later. You laugh softly, imagining a professor debating your tunic's coin, muttering, "Was he rich, or just paranoid like you, puzzling over a cryptic tweet?" It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real history might never know your story, and your stashes could be another unmarked find. You pat your pouch, its leather warm, and hope your secrets outlive you. You're back on the march, the fog curling around you, the valley's silence, broken by the crunch of boots and the clank of armor. Your stash's boot pouch, tunic, sword, buried coins, squire, cook, monastery merchant, are still yours. But the scholar's debates feel like a distant echo, a reminder that your choices are part of a bigger puzzle. Other risks are out there, battle, betrayal, desertion, but this mystery's your gamble, a question for the ages. You catch a soldier staring into the mist, his hand subtle. Another player in the game. You keep moving, the weight of history quiet, one step at a time. You're still marching with this medieval army, the fog-shrouded valley, now giving way to a windswept ridge where the air's sharp with the scent of crushed heather and the faint metallic tang of armor damp from the mist. Your boots scrape against rocky soil, the penny in your soul, a familiar ache, while your tunic's coin belt, pouch, sword's hilt, buried stash, squire's penny, cook's farthing, monastery pennies, and merchant's groat cling to you like silent vows. The scholar's debates about your wealth linger in your mind, a distant hum of questions you'll never answer. But now you're sinking into the rhythm of the march, the everyday grind of a soldier's life, mud, sweat, and secrets. You're wondering what it was like to live this way day after day. Your stash is a quiet hope in a world of grit and danger. It's time to feel the pulse of that life. Picture yourself at camp, the twilight air heavy with the smoky scent of burning oak and the savory whiff of barley porridge simmering nearby. You're slumped against a boulder, its surface cold and rough, digging into your back through your cloak's worn wool. Your legs ache, your boots are caked with mud, their leather stiff and smelling of damp hide. You're chewing a strip of dried meat, its texture tough, its salty tang sharp on your tongue. Your stashes are all there, the tunic's coin pressing your ribs, the pouch nudging your hip, the sword's hilt heavy at your side. You're tired, but you pat each one, a ritual to calm your nerves. "Still got you lot," you mutter, smirking. That's your first joke tonight, a quiet laugh at your own paranoia, a soldier's habit in a life of constant vigilance. Here's a mainstream historical fact: medieval soldiers in the 1200s and 1300s lived grueling lives on campaign, their days filled with marching, foraging, and guarding their few possessions. Most were peasants or low-born men, paid meager wages if at all, and their valuables, often just a few coins or a keepsake, were their lifeline for survival or a future after the war. English longbowmen, French men-at-arms, or Italian mercenaries all shared this grind. Their hidden stashes, a hedge against starvation or capture. You imagine living this now, hiking with just a backpack, guarding your phone like it's gold. It's exhausting, but it's their normal. Now for the quirky tidbit: some soldiers carve tiny marks into their coins, not just for codes, but as personal talismans, like initials or a cross to claim their wealth across campaigns. A few surviving coins show these scratches, hinting at men who saw their pennies as more than money, almost like friends. You grin, picturing yourself scratching a smiley face on your groat, muttering, "You're mine, mate." It's a daft habit, but when your life's this hard, a marked coin feels like family. Historians still argue whether this was widespread or just a sentimental quirk. Did every soldier personalize their coins, or was it a rare oddity? The debate's open, but you like the idea of a penny with a story etched into it. The sensory details pull you in. The boulder's chill seeps through your cloak, its wool damp smelling of sweat and smoke. The meat's chewy, sticking to your teeth, and the porridge's steam warms your face, its grainy scent grounding you. Your stashes are a constant presence. The boot's penny jabs your heel, the pouch's leather creaks, the sword's hilt presses your thigh. The camp's alive. A man curses over a broken strap, A squire laughs, the fire pops softly, the air tastes of ash and heather, and your breath slows the weight of the day settling. You glance at a soldier nearby whittling a stick, his hand brushing his tunic, checking his own stash, you think, a flicker of kinship in the dusk. A modern aside, ever felt that bone-deep tiredness after a long day, clutching your keys like they're your only anchor? That's the soldier's life, except their keys are coins and the day's a march through hell. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier patting his pouch, muttering, "Stay put or I'm done for," like you, checking your wallet after a grind. It's a grim giggle, but it fits. The risk's real, lose your stash and you're just another hungry grunt. You rub your tunic's coin its lump, reassuring, and let the camp's hum lull you. You're back on the march, the ridge's wind tugging your cloak, the ground hard underfoot. The air's fresh, tinged with grass and leather, and the army's rhythm boots, clanks, murmurs. Feels like a heartbeat. Your stashes, boot pouch, tunic sword, buried coins, squire cook, to monastery merchant, are still yours. But this soldier's life, this daily dance of hope and grit, is your reality now. Other risks, battle, betrayal, desertion, loom. But this routine's your gamble, a life woven with secrets. You catch a soldier yawning, his hands subtle. Another player in the game. You keep moving, the weight of your hopes steady, one step at a time. You're still marching with this medieval army, the ridge now sloping into a quiet valley where the air's soft, carrying the faint scent of wildflowers and the earthy tang of dew-kissed soil. The sun's dipping low, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, and your boots tread lightly, the penny in your soul. A gentle reminder rather than a pain. Your tunic's coin belt pouch, sword's hilt buried stash, squire's penny, cook's farthing, monastery pennies, and merchant's groat. They're all still with you. A tapestry of secrets woven through this long, weary campaign. You've lived the soldier's life, felt the grind, the fear, the fleeting hopes. Now, as the march slows, you're starting to reflect on those hidden treasures. The ones that made it, and the ones lost to time. It's time to let the journey fade, to drift into the quiet of a soldier's dreams. Picture yourself at camp, the twilight air gentle, heavy with the smoky scent of a fading fire and the sweet, grassy whiff of the valley's breath. You're sitting on a soft patch of clover, its cool, velvety texture cushioning your aching legs. Your cloak's loose, its wool soft against your skin, smelling faintly of dust. And home, a home you barely remember. The camp's settling, the fire's embers glow a soft crackle. A soldier hums a tune low and mournful. The distant clink of a pot fades. You're holding your sword, its hilt warm from your touch, the hidden coin inside a quiet secret. You think of the oak's buried coins, the monastery's vault, the merchant's box. Some you'll find again, some you won't. Guess I'm rich in stories, at least you whisper, a soft chuckle. That's your first joke tonight, a tender nod to the wealth that matters most. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Many medieval soldiers' hidden treasures were never recovered, lost to battles, desertions, or forgotten markers in the 1200s and 1300s. Archaeologists find caches, coins, rings, jewels buried near old camps or battlefields. Silent proof of soldiers' hopes and fears. From English campaigns to Crusader trails, these lost stashes tell a story of men who gambled everything to protect their futures, only to leave them for history to uncover. You imagine your own buried coins waiting under that notched oak, maybe found centuries later by someone else's hands. Now for the quirky tidbit, some soldiers left offerings with their caches, like a broken arrow or a pebble as a nod to luck or a plea for return. A few digs have found these trinkets, hinting at rituals we'll never fully grasp. You smile, picturing yourself tucking a twig with your coins, muttering, "Come back to me, all right." It's a quiet hope, but in a world of loss it feels right. Historians still argue whether these offerings were common or just personal quirks. Did every soldier leave a token, or was it a rare gesture? The debate's open, but you like the thought of a twig carrying your dreams. The sensory details wrap around you. The clover's cool, its scent fresh, mixing with the fire's fading smoke. Your cloak's weight is comforting, its wool, a soft embrace. And the sword's hilt fits your palm, its leather warm, faintly oily. The valley's quiet. A breeze rustles the grass, a starling calls, and the air tastes of dusk, clean and calm. Your stashes are there. The tunic's coin a gentle nudge, the pouch a steady pressure, but they feel lighter now, less urgent. You glance at a soldier nearby, his eyes half closed, his hand resting on his belt. He's dreaming of his own coins, you think. A warmth spreading through you. A modern aside, ever looked back on a tough time and realized the memories meant more than the stuff you kept? That's the soldier's truth, their coins just sparks in a larger fire. You laugh softly, imagining a soldier smiling at his empty pouch, muttering, "Well, I've got tales to tell." It's a gentle giggle, but it fits. The risk's gone, your stashes found or lost are part of the story now. You lean back, the clover cradling you, and let the camp's hum fade. And so the march slows, the valley's glow dimming as stars prick the sky. You're resting now, the clover soft beneath you, the air, a whisper of peace. The coins, the pouches, the secrets, they're slipping away like pebbles in a stream, carried to places you'll never see. You don't mind. You've walked their paths, felt their weight, laughed at their fears. The soldier's life with its mud and hopes settles into your bones, a story you'll carry into sleep. Let the fire's last embers fade, the valley's breeze lull you. Your treasures, hidden or lost, are safe in the quiet of this night. Close your eyes, breathe deep, and drift. The march is over, the secrets are yours, and the stars are watching. Sweet dreams.